This is the Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie podcast.
Where do we start? The extraordinary life of Elle Macpherson. Well, I tell you where you start, by hitting the shelves tomorrow, because I am so looking forward to this. It's the autobiography of Elle Macpherson. It's just called Elle. It is out tomorrow, and we have been so lucky to meet this lady, and she is on the line now. Elle Macpherson, welcome.
Welcome, Elle.
Hi, guys.
Good morning, Elle. What a pleasure to have you on our show.
Yeah, I always love doing your show, guys.
Oh, you are a superstar. You're right, friend of the show, and we've loved all the chats we've had over the years. When you write a book like this, Elle, I have to ask. I mean, there's so much stuff in there. There's some confronting things. But how do you decide what you can share in a book like this and things that are just too personal to you?
Well, it's really a book about life. It's not necessarily just about my life. My life is the conduit for the sort of wisdoms I've gleaned along the way, and that, and universal truths that everybody can apply in their own lives.
Yeah.
And the stories, the stories that I share really, I mean, they're shared for a purpose.
Your learnings.
Not just to tell my life story, but every story has a gem in it. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway from the book, that it's really for everybody. It's not simply my life.
Yeah, and why now though, Elle? Because I would imagine over the years you would have been approached many, many times to release books and, to tell us about behind the scenes and, when people have followed, things and challenges that you've been through. I'm sure everybody's on the phone saying, can you please tell us your story? What made now the right time to do it?
It just felt right. There have been many times people have asked me to write a book and it didn't resonate. And this didn't start out as a book. I never had the intention of, sit down and write a book. It started out as a list of notes that I had around on my desk when people would call me asking me for to share my experience and were looking for guidance and to some extent, or just wanted someone to talk to. So I had all sorts of people calling me, and I would write notes because I wanted to be helpful. And then they just strung together, and here we are with this beautiful book that comes out tomorrow, and I'm so excited. And for the guys that don't like to read, the audio book also comes out tomorrow, and I'm really excited about that because
that's me.
We've got a few in the studio.
What's so magical about the audio book is that Doyle scored it. So he scored it like a movie. So you have Doyle's music, his brilliant guitar, and a lot of instruments that have healing frequencies underneath them that sort of open each chapter. And you guys who love to listen to radio will probably really enjoy the book because of the music and the healing frequencies that are embedded in the music.
Incredible.
That's a really good idea.
To help calm the nervous system. Yeah, it was such a fun collaboration together.
I guess that ties back to all of the work that you have done in wellness. Was that an important part to include?
Absolutely. And I think it's very important that people have a chance to give their nervous system a rest. Yep. And, the healing frequencies that are imperceivable in some ways with all these instruments from the earth, gongs and stone drum and didgeridoo and Native American flute, they really, really work to calm your nervous system and to put you in a parasympathetic state, which is so important. We're so stressed today.
Here we are, lovely.
Stress is one of the greatest causes of disease.
Well, do you know what I'd be stressed about, Elle? If, as a parent, when my teenage daughter ventures to New York to build this remarkable career, like it's so out of... it's crazy what you went through, Elle, and the people that you met over the years. Now, in the book, you talk about relationships and friendships that you've had over the year, because it's not ordinary life. It's you're meeting people while you're so young. You talk about hanging out with people like Princess Diana and that strong friendship that you had with George Michael. Do you look back on those days very fondly, Elle?
Well, I remember that those times we were all sort of going through very everyday stuff. We may have had extraordinary careers.
Yep.
But underneath it, we were still, grappling with the same issues, which was finding the meaning of life to some extent, and to realizing that, as I shared quite extensively throughout the book, that every experience is a valuable gift.
Yeah.
And there's purpose in everything, even if it's uncomfortable, the highs and the lows. There's learning in everything, and it's not just purposeless and meaningless, and we're not powerless in our lives, whether you're a star or whether you're not.
Did you use those people, Elle, though, to go through when you're leading a life like that? Did you lean on people like Princess Diana and also George Michael and get advice from them? Because it is not an ordinary life. Like, it's you guys are in the spotlight so much. But did you learn from them?
No, it wasn't really a question of, we were past like ships in the night in many ways. So it was through observation. Yeah. And through experience. Life is experiential. The wisdom comes from the experiences that we have. And so, at that time, we were just all sort of muddling through. And, there was no looking to Princess Diana for advice.
So you're right. So in the middle of the night when you had maybe a boyfriend issue.
She didn't look to me for it either.
Let's be very clear about that.
She didn't call you. We celebrate too, and we've spoken about this before, the 21 years of sobriety, which is sensational. But there was a point too where you reveal how your relationship with alcohol became a little bit too much and you had to look after yourself.
Well, to tell you the truth, I just wanted a break.
Yeah.
and it was a fantastic time for me to sort of address a lot of things that I'd sort of hadn't had time to examine, and it has been the foundation of the most remarkable life. I mean, getting sober and staying sober, and there's 2 chapters in the book on that.
Yeah.
The second one is called How, Open, Honest and Willing. And that's really about, the first chapter is about stopping drinking, and the second one is staying stopped, how to stay stopped. And it has been the foundation of all my life, really, because without being sober, I wouldn't be here to be sharing this book with you. And, yesterday I went to a meeting, and it was really funny because one of the guys was talking about how he was embarrassed about going to AA meetings in the beginning. And he said that he wasn't embarrassed about falling out of a nightclub and, pissing his pants and vomiting on the street and hurling abuse. That didn't seem to bother him so much, but he slunk into an AA meeting after he was like 6 months sober.
That's a funny way to look at it, isn't it?
But it's the truth.
Yep.
It's our truth, We have such preconceived ideas about how horrible life is going to be without alcohol. And I'm living proof that life can be so joyous and so free and so powerful and purposeful when we're focused on love and focused on wellness and focused on relationships and connection. I think people go to drugs or alcohol are just a symptom of people feeling disconnected.
Yeah.
It's the biggest malady on earth is disconnection, or the belief that we're disconnected.
It's a good lesson, isn't it?
And what was the biggest thing you learned about yourself, Elle, when you did become sober? Do you think that you were just kind of touching on the fact that it's been a brand new, wonderful, joyous life? What was the thing that had been hidden by, I suppose, the use of alcohol? Because when you become sober, everything just, there's such a clarity, isn't there?
Yes, there is, but I think it was a fear of being my true self.
Yeah.
And I think you can, it's about becoming empowered and present and clear in life so that you can live your life to your fullest.
Yeah.
And not numbing yourself through addictive behaviors. And let's be honest, I mean, addiction runs rife in humanity. It's not just alcohol. I mean, there's addiction to fear, there's addiction to guilt, there's addiction to shopping, to work. Workaholism is very accepted as an addiction. And people numb themselves from themselves, living life on life's terms, through persistently doing behaviours that are damaging.
Yeah, too true.
This is the Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie podcast.
Elle, you talk about love so much. You said, I have learned that love is what really matters. I deeply wish that you learn unconditional love, firstly of yourself, then of others, then of life itself. It's your true nature. You have 2 amazing boys, Flynn and Si. Elle, are you in love now? Like, have you found a life partner now? Are you in love currently, or are you searching?
Well, I'm loving life, and
And yourself.
Good answer, Elle.
I'm loving life, and yes, I am in a loving relationship with a remarkable musician, as I mentioned before, who scored the book, the audiobook. So, but it's really about learning self-love, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And my son, who read the book, said to me, he said, "Mummy, this is really a love story, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes, baby, it is." But it's not a love story in the romantic sense. It's about learning loving consciousness in life and moving from fear, because we live in fear, to living a life of love.
Yeah. And from one relationship to the next, we always learn and we carry on from our teachings and our experiences in the previous relationship. But also you share the idea of burning a wedding dress, Elle, which I think a lot of people would have liked to have done in time.
That would have been
a wedding dress.
What did you burn?
God, that wouldn't have been an expensive bonfire.
It was an Azadine Alaya dress, which was like made for me
Custom.
and by one of the greatest couturiers of this, in the world.
Yeah.
And the embarrassing thing was, many years later, the Azadine museum asked me for the dress, and I couldn't tell them it was stuck to the bar on the brownstone that I was living on 9th Street, New York City, like only nylon would stick to a bar.
Oh, my God.
Was the fire brigade called? If you're burning...
my God. Well, they didn't have smoke... They didn't have smoke alarms like that, that were that sensitive at that time. The fire hazards were different in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, and I just think it's a wonderful, it's just a wonderful indication of how frustrated and angry and desperate I felt, and so in your face to frigging burn your wedding dress. But the remarkable thing is, I got through it, and I thrived. And there was this turning point in my life, was in freedom of expressing myself in different ways. And so, even though at the moment it felt very traumatic and dramatic, it actually turned out to be an extraordinary turning point and freedom.
Yeah.
Come on, Elle, though. There has to be one moment post-burning the wedding dress where you thought, damn it was a beautiful dress. I can't believe I did
I think about it all the time. I was like, what was I thinking?
Oh, my God.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Oh, it's a lovely ritual. There's something very ceremonious about it.
Yes, I love that.
I'm sure there's lots of women that can relate to that.
Absolutely.
Elle, do you know what? And like we've said, and we've joked about this before, but when we met you in the Qantas Lounge, how approachable you were. And we were so nervous to go around there, but you were the one that made the first move and said, just come around here and say hello. We've watched you on our screens everywhere growing up. This is going to be a fascinating read. It's just called Elle. It hits shelves tomorrow, Tuesday, 3rd of September, but we really appreciate you coming on the show, Elle.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate your interest and sharing this wonderful book on life and wellness and love, and remember, this is about your life, not mine.
I think that's the most important thing too. And you share also, which is extremely personal, your battle with breast cancer, which I'm not sure anybody was aware of at the time. But, the learnings and the teachings that came from that experience too. There's a lot of people that have gone down that path. And I think everybody knows somebody within their family even that have shared in that challenging time. So once again, there's crucial learnings in what you experienced there too.
Yeah, it wasn't really a battle. I mean, the battle was coming to terms with everybody else's fear, because, cancer is a subject that so many people are afraid of. And so, my recovery from breast cancer, and I'm happy to say that I'm 7 years in clinical remission, as they would say.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The hardest part was coming to the decision, first of all, the diagnosis, but the next part was, well, what do I do about it?
Yeah.
And I was very, very, it was such a magnificent story of rebirth for me, and cancer can be a catalyst. And I think the most important thing for people is to go inside their heart and to really listen only to themselves. I mean, of course, take advice where you can, but listen to yourselves as to what's the right thing for you to do.
Yeah.
And get to the root cause.
Yeah, look, that's so. It's been so nice to talk to you this morning, Elle. I cannot wait to get a copy of Elle tomorrow. But congratulations too that you've worked so hard over the years. We've watched your career; it's been extraordinary. You've been such an inspiration, and you're an Australian icon. And I really think it's a credit to you that you've had the opportunity to get to this point of your career to be able to sit down and pen the book that you wanted to write. It's not some kind of scandalous tell-all that, like you said, this is my story and it's the most important. This is a book for everybody, and thank you so much for sharing it with us.
You're welcome, and I got to say thank you to Penguin, because they allowed me to write a book that wasn't an autobiography or a memoir or a list of scandalous tell-alls. It's a book of wisdoms, and that was Penguin's. They supported me the whole way through that, so I'm deeply grateful to them for that.
You've earned it.
And I quite like the idea, Elle, if you could champion it, of throwing it out to the women of Sydney. If you want to burn your wedding dress,
tag Elle Macpherson.
We're all going to have a ceremonial burning of the dress. We love it, Elle. The book is out tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, guys. Lots of love.
You're the best. Take care. Bye-bye.
Fitz in Whipper with Kate Ritchie is a Nova podcast. For more great shows like this, download the Nova Player via the App Store or Google Play.
The Nova Player.